Гледате 360 степени. Александар Сорос, син на милиардерот филантроп Ѓорѓ Сорос, во прво интервју за медиум од Македонија зборува за периодот кога фондацијата Отворено општество беше под жесток напад на поранешната владеачка партија во земјава. Владимир Мирчевски го прашува Сорос, кој е подпредседател на глобалниот борд на фондацијата, и за критиките дека организацијата сега не е толку активна како за време на претходната влада, како и за нападите на кои е изложена во Србија и во Унгарија.
Mr. Soros, thank you for this interview. Can I just start with asking you what is the purpose of your visit to Macedonia?
There was a planned trip for the new president of our foundation. It's his first hands-on experience with our work on the Roma. So I joined him for the beginning of the trip here in Skopje, which was also an opportunity to take up Prime Minister Zayev's invitation to come to Macedonia. It's my first time here, and given what had happened last year and what we see as great opportunities and prospects for the future, I couldn't say no to the opportunity of coming here.
Who did you also meet here in Macedonia?
I met with the mayor and head of the council of the largest Roma township, and only self-administered one in Europe, which is known locally as Shutka, and also the members of the staff and board of the Open Society Foundation here. Also met with the Prime Minister and other members of his cabinet and some grantees on the ground and civil society actors.
You're part of the Foundation Open Society, which was pointed out by the previous government as an accomplice, by some also structures in the society, as an accomplice in the scenario for removing the former government of Vomero Diplomatic from power. How do you see those events from today's stance?
I mean, to think about last year, I was very aware of the attacks that were occurring here, and it's amazing how much things can change for a year, in a year. And I don't just speak here about the foundation, but I speak about this country, in general, from going to what one would call a closing or closed society to now having the promise of becoming an open society with European integration is remarkable to see in 1 year.
After electing new leader, Vomero Diplomatic stopped accusing the foundation and labeling its members and recipients as so-called Sorosoid. Have you had the opportunity to meet with someone from the new leadership of the party?
I would be very open to meet with the new leader if it was a constructive meeting about a path forward, and we could put to bed the attacks that they and campaign they launched against my father and the foundation. That opportunity has not arose since I've been here, but I always leave the door open to cooperation if they've changed their ways.
There are some comments in some circles in the country that NGOs, including Foundation Open Society, who were very critical of the policies of the former government, now that there is a new government in power, are not performing their role as a public watchdogs. Do you have that feeling?
No, I don't. I think that in my meetings, it's very clear that at least the Open Society Foundation knows that it has to hold the government accountable for the promises that it's made and the things that it ran on. But civil society is not just watchdogs and people that criticize. It comes from all walks of life and represents very many things. And I think that when we put civil society in the box as just being critics, we actually get into some of the nastier problems that arise, where it's always needs to be an antagonism with government. If an administration is doing things to promote open society, we can't just be finding things to criticize it on if there's not much to criticize. But at the same time, just because the foundation and the party had similar interests and was under similar attacks does not mean that they are going to agree. They are two separate institutions, and we're a nonpartisan organization.
You mentioned EU integration. Do you have a position on the biggest issue that Macedonia has towards EU and NATO, that is the name dispute with Greece?
I think that the current government has shown tremendous goodwill and willingness to make the necessary sacrifices for there to be a resolution, and I remain hopeful that that the two sides will come to a resolution, because it's in the best interest of everybody involved.
Recently you were in Kosovo, and not so long ago you met with Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić, who also very frequently puts Soros in a negative context. On one occasion, Vučić accused head of the Foundation Open Society in Serbia for positions that are contrary, as he said, to Serbia's interest. What is your view on Serbia as a large country in the Western Balkans under the rule of Aleksandar Vučić now?
President Vučić, who I've met, has changed in his attitude towards us and to other people who used to have antipathy towards. He's very open about that, and I think the situations in Serbia and Kosovo especially are quite difficult and complicated. My impressions of President Vučić is that he's been a good actor when it comes to regional cooperation, writing even last week about the need for greater regional economic cooperation, and has a conviction about EU membership. He's in a very difficult position, and I think that what he's done in trying to bring Serbian society along to find ways for greater recognition of Kosovo and other neighbors of which there's been bloody history has been good, and also the relationship that he's established with Edi Rama and Albania has also been very positive.
Speaking about the region, for Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, Soros is enemy number one. He is announcing new packages of laws called Stop Soros that will tighten regulations for non-governmental actors dealing with migrant-related issues.
I think that given the fact that there are not very many migrants in Hungary, that more Hungarians have left Hungary in the time that President Orban has been in power in his second term, I believe, than after the Hungarian Revolution, that the Hungarian government should be more concerned with the amount of young people that are leaving than with the small number of refugees that are leaving war and destitution to try and find a better life. In regards to his attacks and his endorsement of actions against my father, these are obviously anti-Semitic. They speak to a part of European history of which the European Union, for which he agreed and Hungary agreed to sign up to, are not supposed to be in unison with. Then I think that it's a pretty visible situation. It's pretty clear-cut that this is the sort of anti-Semitism, racism, and scapegoating which takes us down horrible paths. And I hope that that's very clear to the international community, because it's one of those situations where you're raised in a society in which you say that that there's certain red lines, and that these are certain pillars of a democratic society, and those are being broken.
You mentioned your father, George Soros. Has the saying, like father, like son, works in your case?
It's hard not to be both proud and shaped by him. He's a man of history, and I'm very honored and proud that he trusts me and has faith in me to work in the foundation and carry on his mission. It's one of the most satisfying relationships I have. It doesn't mean that we don't disagree, but in regards to both my parents, they've very much shaped my life, and I hope to make them proud.
Thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you.
Ова беше интервјуто на Владимир Мирчевски со Александар Сорос, син на Џорџ Сорос и втор човек на глобалниот борд на Фондацијата Отворено општество. Овде ќе направиме уште една пауза, по која следува интервјуто со градоначалникот на Скопје Петре Шилегов. Останете на Алсат.